Today, we're diving into a really fascinating, kind of esoteric reading of the Quran. It's an interpretation that sees it as way more than just a book of faith, but as, well, something much more profound. So, what if the most read book in history has this entire hidden layer of meaning that we've just been scratching the surface of? I mean, what if it's literally a blueprint describing the very fabric of our existence? A kind of code that explains everything, from the tiniest particle to these huge cosmic events, all using a language that, believe it or not, starts to sound a lot like modern physics. Yeah, this interpretation proposes a complete system. It's like a map that connects the spiritual journey of your own soul to the ultimate fate of the entire universe. It's a huge idea. And to even begin to understand this huge map, the source material says you have to start with a single foundational rule. This one rule pretty much sets the stage for everything else that follows. All right, let's get into it. According to this framework, the key that unlocks this whole cosmic system is a single explicit rule found right inside the Quran itself. The entire framework really kicks off right here. It starts with verses that directly ask, after you've received the word of God, what other narration, what other hadith could you possibly need to believe in? And this right here, it establishes a really clear hierarchy. In this framework, the Quran isn't just a source of truth, it's the only source of absolute truth. It calls itself the best hadith. Any other narrations are basically described as idle talk, distractions meant to mislead. And what's really fascinating is that this idea is so important that some hadith collections, the very books containing these other narrations, actually report that the Prophet himself, at first, forbade anyone from writing down his own sayings, just to make sure that nothing could ever get mixed up with the Quran. So if the Quran is the complete map, what are the fundamental forces that it's describing? Well, according to this reading, everything in creation, everything, comes down to this primary duality, these two opposing forces. So first up, we have the Ruh, which means the spirit. Think of this as the divine command. It's the source of light, of knowledge, of order. It's the constructive force in the universe that builds and multiplies life. And then on the other side of the coin, you have the nafs, the individual self. This is the vessel for our experience, right? But it's also linked to fire, to pride, and to that universal tendency for things to fall apart, that slide into chaos and decay that scientists call entropy. And this analogy just illustrates that core conflict perfectly. The Ruh is constructive, like orderly cell division that multiplies life while keeping the blueprint intact. But the prideful nafs, it's destructive, like nuclear fission. It's a chaotic shattering of identity that just unleashes chaos. So, you've got these two forces playing tug-of-war across the cosmos. How does this actually play out on the world stage? Well, the source material maps them onto a prophetic timeline, viewing all of history as this grand, unfolding electrical circuit. So this timeline is seen as a spiritual circuit. First, you have Musa, who establishes the law, representing submission to the divine order. Then comes Isa, who embodies the spirit, the Ruh, made manifest right here in the world. And finally, Muhammad delivers the synthesis of both, the complete book, the Quran, which unites that law and that spirit into one final package. Okay, now hold on, because this is where the framework takes a really fascinating leap. It connects this entire spiritual system to the language of quantum physics, suggesting that these aren't just, nice metaphors. They're literal laws of reality. We all know Einstein's famous equation, right? But what if it's not just about physical matter and energy? This reading reinterprets it as a spiritual law, one that actually governs the soul's return to God. Okay, so check this out. In this view, E is the divine energy, the truth of the Quran. M is the mass, or the literal weight of your deeds in this life. And C squared, that's the amplifying factor of light upon light, which is seen as divine grace. So your actions, your mass, are converted back into spiritual energy and then multiplied by God's grace. And the quantum analogy goes even deeper. Think about wave-particle duality. In this cosmology, the Quran is seen as the eternal, unseen wave of knowledge, just full of potential. And the prophets who deliver this message, they're the particles. They are the wave collapsing into a specific, tangible form at a particular point in history. So let's try and bring all these threads together. We've got a blueprint, we have these primal forces, a cosmic timeline, even a quantum code. What does it all mean for us, right here, right now? This whole massive framework, it really culminates in one final and pretty provocative question. Is the world that we experience with our five senses the true reality, or is it something else entirely? And this is the ultimate takeaway. The world we see, the one we feel and desire, it's a veil. It's a kind of divine simulation that's designed for one single purpose, to be a test. A test to see whether our nafs, our individual self, will choose to align with the Ruh, the divine spirit. And that leaves us with one last powerful idea. If this reality really is a test, then according to this framework, the manual for passing it, for seeing beyond the illusion, is the very book that started this whole journey in the first place.